Welcome back to Book, Stage and Screen, actually. We've turned green, have we? For Book, Stage and Screen.
Yes.
And we're joined by the wonderful Stella Kinsella. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Now, I came across your Archiva films, your company, and I was intrigued by your motto, I guess, of about developing solutions via community engagement through apps and all different types of media and applications. And I thought, I do have to talk to Stella.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your company, Archiva Films.
Okay, well, look, I have a bit of a dual background in I trained in theatre and I've also worked in film and a little bit of television over the years. But I'm also very much involved in interpretation, and that's a field that perhaps not everybody is completely au fait with to begin with. But interpretation is really about how stories are told around either events or places of significance, and they use sort of historical references or personal anecdotal stories in order to convey that information. So that can take into account audio-visual storytelling, or it might take into account text-based storytelling, old sort of methodologies of storytelling, and these days, obviously, the very new technology, including apps.
Oh. Well, with a name like Stella Kinsella, you did have to become involved in the entertainment industry.
Do you think so? Yes. Look, we had a lot of kids in my family. I guess by the time I came along, my parents were used to rhyming.
Oh, it's beautiful. It rolls up the tongue.
No, it is. It's a great name.
But that's so when you came to your interpretation service, that's what you call it. How do you, when you work with a client, how do you sort of start with them?
Okay, well, look, obviously, you probably learnt this in high school. When you're writing an essay, you need to know who your readership is, who your audience is, and that's very much the case with the work that I do. So who is your audience? Is it the general public, in which case you need to have a fairly broad scope? Is it a particular focused sort of an audience, which is often where I work? So I have, as I mentioned before, I've kind of got a lot of theatre training, and I do a combined format in which I entertain to edify, is how I put it.
Okay.
So often I'll have live events, and you might have a captive audience, which is a great place to present some either smaller stories that you may have found that may not be suitable to, say, broadcast television, because, of course, broadcast TV is looking for its widest demographic. But you might actually have community-based events. And, for example, just today, I've just been filming with a group called the Hobson's Bay Men's Shed. Now, that may not be something that would necessarily jump out at a silver screen event, but these people do intrinsic work that often flies very much under the radar. So the work that I'm doing with them is capturing their stories and the community-based version of why the men's shed exists and why it's valuable and why it's important. And also, and this is the part of the job that I love the most, is that there are remarkable gems hidden inside the bigger picture. So, for example, today I was interviewing a woman about why she was wood turning. It doesn't sound too interesting at the beginning, but then you find out, of course, she's a drover's daughter and that she's worked in textiles at the old mills down in Williamstown before they were all demolished. And so suddenly this whole area of archiving her story really cracks open. Now that eventually will become, sorry to answer your question, that will become part of a film that will be screened as part of a live event that's happening on the 26th of August.
Okay.
But in addition to that, and this is why things are getting really exciting, is that I can screen that film to a captive audience that will all have a very focused point of view and a point of reason for being at the live event. But then, of course, we've got all of the online capacity as well. So you sort of start off with a smaller audience, and then it branches out into more effectively a global audience these days anytime you put anything on the web.
And so this live event that you were talking about, is that something you can share with us?
Well, okay, so I run a thing called the Newport Comedy Room, and it's based at the Bowling Club at Market Street in Newport, in the inner west.
Yep.
We've been doing this for the last couple of years, and so at these events I'll have headline acts. In the forthcoming event we've got the fantastic Jeff Green. He's a British-born but Australian-based comedian.
Yes.
And that's fairly straightforward. Everyone knows what that's about, going to see a comedian. It's great fun.
Yeah.
But unlike a lot of the other comedy events that you might see in and around town, I see this as an opportunity to really start to tell some of the more local stories. So I run this room and host the event. Right. But in addition to that, that's where this film will go. Now, in many of the shows that I produce, I figure, why get a group of people together? It's cold, life's busy, it's hard to get out. And if you're going to get out and come together, then why don't we raise a little bit of funds or awareness around this local organisation? Yep. So that's what I've been doing. So I've worked, as I said today, with the Hobsons Bay Men's Shed. Yep. Previously, for live shows that I've produced, I have made a film and presented that around Western Animal Rescue. That's an amazing organisation that does over 9,000 rescues of Indigenous species in and around the West. Okay. Prior to that, I worked with West Welcome Wagon. I'm sure you've heard of West Welcome Wagon. They do incredible work providing material goods and emotional assistance to the 600 refugee families that are in and around the western suburbs. Yep. And another group that I worked with is the Women's Health West, who also do quite incredible work as well. So what I do effectively is I link up with these organisations who themselves are often not-for-profit or effectively registered as a charity. They have very limited means and very limited opportunity, and the work that I do, then I come in, I make my film with them, I get to know them all, and then I promote and present that work at these live events as well. So either we go ahead and raise the money for them, or we'll raise awareness for them, and then they're able to use that footage as well in their future endeavours, etc.
So if people hear this and they say, well, that's absolutely fantastic, that's exactly what we need, how do they go about engaging your services? What would they do?
Our website's fantastic. Fantastic. So that would be the best way to do it, is either jump on the Archiva Films website, and that's www.archivafilms.com.au, or sneaky me, because I do all of these comedy events as well, they can also jump on the Stellavision website as well, which is very specifically all of the comedy stuff that we do as well.
Wonderful.
Well, it sounds a bit bipolar, doesn't it?
No. I think it's a great mix. I think it's a fabulous thing, because there are, as you say, great
that's
stories.
Life these days. Why stop at one thing?
Yes. Well, we're book, stage and screen, so we're trying to cover everything. Well, that's fantastic, Stella. I really applaud you. That's fantastic work. And as you said, there's so many stories to be told. As you were talking about the Hobsons Bay Men's Shed, is it? The Men's Shed?
Yes.
Yes, I remember as we go from Point Cook to Altona, we always go past it.
It's just amazing, though. It started about 5 or 6 years ago with a half a dozen members. There's 240 members there. Yeah. So in addition to being a resource centre for what you would expect, which is retired or semi-retired men, what they're also able to do now is provide services for people with disabilities, or for people that have to go and do work for the dole, which is not a lot of fun, but when they go to the men's shed, they get so many opportunities to learn real skills and trades. Yeah. And I sound like their PR agent now, but this is what happens when you make a film about an organisation. You become enamoured of their work, and you either want to champion them to one degree or another. But that's part of what I love about living in the inner west, is that this place is not only full of history, full of Australian history, but it's actually full of fantastic community. And I'm a refugee from the southeastern suburbs, which is also a fab place to live. Yeah. But I'm really, really sort of, as I said, enamoured of the growth that's happening over here, but also the creative endeavours that are going on as well, and very much the community that can seem a bit old-fashioned community, but frankly, I don't think we can live without it, can we?
No, and it only feeds, everything. Your creative juices, your need to be part of something, so it's always great.
There's a show that I'll be doing next year based on, I've got an obsession with the suburbs where people grew up in. I started this last year in East Bentley, of all places, because I discovered that East Bentley has spawned a remarkable number of incredible high achievers, plus a wacky number of stories that go into it, including, I don't know if people remember the Petrov affair, but the Petrovs ended up living in East Bentley after they defected from Russia. East Bentley was a fairly innocuous place. Yeah. But what I discovered was all of these amazing stories there, and we wrapped that up in a live event again. Live event, live band, live interviews, and a lot of video recorded interviews with people that either couldn't be there or required the sort of documentary treatment that I do. So all of that bundled into one package created this live event called I Grew Up in East Bentley. So this will be some of the shows that we'll be doing in the western suburbs in the years to come, particularly around Altona, Newport, Williamstown. And to be honest, I don't know a great deal about Werribee's history, but
we've got our characters down here, I think.
And it probably is linked to the gold rush era, as most of the rest of this area is.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it sounds fantastic. And to support you just in the short term, we can go to your website, or we can turn up to the Newport Comedy Room on the 26th of August.
Indeed. Come to the shows. They're a lot of fun. The room's really relaxed and cruisy. The comics are always fabulous.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot of networking that goes on just as an ad hoc component to that.
Oh,
wonderful.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Stella, for coming on and telling us all about your
wonderful work
at Archiva Films.
Cheers.
Thanks, love.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby. Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby. Such a sexy, pretty little thing. This April bitch, you got me sprung with your tongue ring. And I ain't gonna lie, cause your loving gets me high. So to keep you by my side, there's nothing that I won't try. Butterflies in her eyes and her looks to kill. Time is passing, I'm asking, could this be real? Cause I can't sleep, I can't hold still. The only thing I really know is she got sex appeal. I can feel, too much is never enough. You always there to lift me up when these times get rough. I was lost, now I'm found, ever since you've been around. You're the woman that I want, so yo, I'm putting it down. Come my lady, come my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby. Come my lady, you're my pretty